When I say last week was crazy, bro, Deadpool and Wolverine did the numbers that it was obviously expected to do. Tyler Perry movies have been getting clowned like crazy, and rightfully so. Heihachi turns out to be alive after everyone had already accepted his death and was prepared to move on. But then again, we should have known better, because time and time again it's been proven that the Mishimas don't die that easy. And craziest of all, Dr. Doom is finally showing up in the MCU. And he's being played by Robert Downey Jr. I can't lie, I did not see that coming at all. Now, I was aware of the rumor that they was planning on bringing back RDJ and a few other actors from the original Avengers back to the MCU. But at the time, it was more so in terms of like a cameo appearance or an AI for Riri Williams, or even just an alternate universe Iron Man who was still alive and maybe was the superior Iron Man in that universe, stuff like that. But to have the man who jump-started the MCU come back to be one of, if not the biggest threat, that's honestly one hell of a twist. Now, another aspect of the surprise is that I figured that they were just gonna scrap the whole Kang storyline and just bring in Dr. Doom, which honestly I'm glad they did, because personally I've never cared for King the Conqueror. And I mean any iteration of him, be it live action, comic books, video games, animated stories. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm well aware of Kang's capabilities and I know that he's nothing to scoff at, but I really do not care about him. It could just have something to do with me just not being the biggest fan of time travel related shenanigans. Usually I hate those types of stories for a variety of different reasons. But anyway, what actually surprised me is the fact that they casted RDJ, right? But I'm sure that people had other actors in mind. One of those actors being Cillian Murphy, who's been in stuff like 28 Days Later, The Dark Knight Trilogy, Peaky Blinders, Oppenheimer, and other things. But some other actors who were fan cast were people like John Hamm, Michael Fassbender, who played a younger Magneto in the X-Men movies, and even Mads Mikkelsen, who played Caecilius in the Doctor Strange movie. But one actor I thought would have definitely been a dope selection to play Dr. Doom would have been none other than Nicholas Coster-Waldau, who was most known for his role as Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones. Yo, old boy would have definitely had that Dr. Doom energy, and seeing how he juggled the role of both villain and anti-hero throughout the Game of Thrones story has me convinced he would have been a great fit for the character. Now, a question that has been asked in recent days is, with Deadpool and Wolverine doing the numbers it did, Captain America Brave New World looking pretty interesting, and RDJ coming back as Dr. Doom in Avengers Doomsday, is this a signification of the Marvel Cinematic Universe making a comeback? Personally, in my honest opinion, I don't think so. For other people perhaps, but I personally don't think this signifies that. What I do think is that this just means that the MCU is still going to have some stuff here and there that's definitely going to be a point of interest. I mean, let's keep it a stack. RDJ being brought back was foreshadowed a while ago. And at that point, people were saying that really Marvel was doing this in a desperate attempt of sorts to basically just revitalize the MCU. And there's plenty of people who still feel that way now. I mean, sure, they may be excited, but that doesn't change the idea that Marvel is doing this out of desperation. Now, Deadpool and Wolverine were obviously not gonna fail at the box office. Just like Spider-Man No Way Home was obviously not gonna fail at the box office. Especially since they let Deadpool actually be himself as opposed to just trying to magically make him the most child-friendly character in Marvel, which he is far from. Now, Captain America 4 is said to have the same vibes as Captain America Winter Soldier, which I'll reserve judgment on that movie till I see it for myself. Now, with the Russo brothers coming back to direct Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, now I know that these movies are definitely gonna slap. No question. But I don't think they're going to carry that exact same weight as Infinity War and Endgame. Simply because with how discombobulated Phase 4 was, the only real characters that people actually have a real connection with are the characters from the first 3 phases who didn't die or retire post Endgame. As for the new characters, there's some characters here and there that people have taken a liking to. But if we're being honest, can we really say that there's been a solid establishment of brand new Avengers that people can get behind? Or are there just an assortment of characters just out there somewhere doing stuff every now and then? I mean, really, where are the Avengers? Can we really say that this whole multiverse storyline has felt all that cohesive? Like any of this stuff actually feels like it's a connected universe that's actually building up to something crazy? Can we really say the same thing about these current phases that we said about the first 3 phases? Genuine question. Now, I predict that Avengers 5 and 6, like Deadpool 3, are going to be heavy on the fan service, heavy on the cameos and Easter eggs and callbacks, which I'm honestly fine with because like I said in my last Marvel video about criticizing the MCU, my interest in the MCU going forward is peripheral at best. Like, I don't have that same level of investment in the MCU narrative that I had back during phases 1 to 3. But I do have just enough interest to simply pop in from time to time and see what's going on. You know, sometimes I'll see something that I think is worthwhile, other times not so much. As for new projects, Blade is still looking slow right now. The Fantastic Four movie sounds pretty interesting, though I'm not entirely down with the idea of it taking place in the 1960s. I mean, I kind of thought that it would just be set in the early 2000s, you know, similar to the Ultimate Universe, and like maybe they'd be active sometime before Stark became Iron Man, but then some mishaps occurred and they ended up getting lost in the multiverse, and that's why we haven't seen them up until now. I will say that I'm glad that we're getting an actual Galactus this time and not just a giant space cloud, because as much as I enjoyed the first two Fantastic Four movies, that shit still pissed me off. I remember the arguments of, but dude, like a comic book accurate costume would look kind of ridiculous in live action though. Dog, just admit that you lack the creativity for stuff like that. Because here's the thing, superhero costumes being accurate to the source material don't look ridiculous if you know how to properly translate a two-dimensional design onto a three-dimensional setting. But in the minds of the naysayers, comic book accurate costumes would either look like pajamas or look like an elementary school student made them out of construction paper. But nah, son, you just need some people who are just creatively in tuned enough to get the job done. I mean, yo, Spawn came out back in 1997, bro. That's 27 years ago. Yet that did not stop the costume from being accurate to the comics, now did it? It ain't like the creative team was like, nah, a lore accurate suit is gonna look too ridiculous, so let's just dress Spawn up in an all-black camouflage and just give him a shiesty mask with some white crescents painted over it. And guess what? There'd have been some people who would have been like, you know what, that actually looks pretty good. If the team is creative enough, they can make something that looks even better than the costume from the comics. I mean, look at Blade, for example, right? Not only did the movie version have a way cooler costume, dude had a better haircut than the comic book version. If you've ever seen the original comic book design for Blade from back in the day, old boy looks like he says stuff like, word on the street is that old blood-sucking jive turkey Dracula is up to no good. But then the movie comes along and that shit was so fire that the people at Marvel just said, you know what? Fuck it, let's just turn comic book Blade into movie Blade. But going back to Dr. Doom, my guess on the angle that they're probably gonna go with here is either the Demon in the Suit storyline, which is a what if story, where Tony Stark and Dr. Doom are actually college roommates and Dr. Doom ends up doing a mind swap with Tony Stark. Or maybe it'll be a version of Tony Stark who grew up in different circumstances and instead of becoming a hero, he just becomes a villain type. Or, and this right here is the theory that I'm most sure that they're going with, which is that this is just straight up Victor Von Doom. He's still Latvian in the whole nine. And this is just an alternate universe version of Dr. Doom who happens to look exactly like Tony Stark. But I don't know. With all these other theories going around, I'm sure they'll explain this somehow. Now to close off this video, I have a small request that I'd like to make. Just one small request for the Russo brothers. Please pull all the necessary strings that you gotta pull and use an MF Doom song for the opening to Avengers Doomsday. Matter of fact, it don't even have to be just the songs under the MF Doom name. It could be MF Doom or one of the many aliases. JJ Doom, Danger Doom, Mad Villain, Victor Von. But I think there's 5 songs that will fit that I can easily name off top. Gas Draws, Strange Ways, Vaudeville Villain, All Caps, and of course the song that I think would be the most fitting, Doomsday. As much as I'd like to play the song right now, YouTube be on some wild knob slobbing shenanigans with that yellow button. But all I'm saying is, Russo brothers, you gotta do this. You just gotta. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents. Let me know what y'all think and we can chop it up in the comment section. Peace.